She is still there. She is sitting right next to you, breathing the same air, sleeping under the same roof, eating at the same table. And yet, if you were truly honest with yourself in this moment, if you reached deep inside that quiet space in your chest where honesty lives, you would feel it. You would feel that she is not really there anymore. Not the way she used to be, not the way she was when her eyes would light up the moment you walked into the room. Not the way she was when she used to save stories just to tell you, when she used to reach for your hand without thinking, when she used to laugh at things that were not even funny simply because you were beside her. That version of her, that alive and present and hopeful version of her, has been going somewhere, and most husbands do not even notice until she is already gone. I want you to stop right now. I want you to close the noise of the world for just a few minutes and sit with me in this moment. Because what I am about to share with you in this message is something that most men will never hear until it is too late. Most men will only understand this the night she stops arguing, the night she stops crying, the night she stops reaching for connection. And by then, the damage runs so deep that no amount of words can fully reach her anymore. You do not want to be that man. I know you do not. Which is why I believe with everything in me that you were meant to find this message today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Stay with me. Because the last part of this message is going to change the way you see your marriage, your wife, and yourself in a way that nothing else has before. And if right now, before we even begin, you feel something stirring in your chest, some recognition, some quiet guilt, some whisper that says, this message is for me, then type in the comments right now, I love Allah. Let that be your first act of honesty today. Let that be your declaration that you are willing to see the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Because here is the truth that nobody is saying out loud in your circle of friends, in your family gatherings, in the places where men sit and talk about everything except the one person at home who is slowly breaking. The truth is this: your wife may not be leaving you physically. She may stay in the house. She may cook the meals. She may raise your children. She may smile at family events. But inside, in the most sacred and private chamber of her heart, she may have already begun the long and silent process of letting go. And the terrifying thing about that process is that it does not happen loudly. It does not happen with screaming and slamming doors and dramatic declarations. It happens in silence. It happens in small moments that you dismissed as unimportant. It happens in the space between what she said and what she actually meant. It happens in the gap between the man you used to be and the man you became when you stopped trying. I want to take you through this message slowly. I want to take you through it the way a wise older brother would sit with you in a quiet room and speak to you not about what you are doing right, but about what you are missing. And I want you to understand from the very beginning that this is not a message of blame. This is not about making you feel like a failure. This is about awareness. Because a man who is truly aware, a man who sees clearly, a man who understands the weight of what Allah has placed in his hands when He placed a wife in his care, that man will change. That man will soften. That man will choose to show up differently, not out of fear, but out of love. Not out of obligation, but out of genuine understanding. So let us begin. Let us go back to a place that most men have forgotten. Let us go back to the beginning. Do you remember who she was when you first saw her? Do you remember the feeling that came over you, the way your heart moved inside your chest, the way she occupied your mind at moments that had nothing to do with her? Do you remember how you used to think about what to say to her? How you used to make effort, how you used to notice every small detail about her, the way she laughed, the way she tucked her hair, the way her eyes looked when she was thinking about something important? Do you remember how you used to pray to Allah to grant her to you? How you used to feel like she was a gift from the heavens something precious, something you were terrified of losing. That feeling, that reverence, that was not just the beginning of your relationship. That was a message from Allah about how she deserves to be treated for the rest of her life. That feeling was not meant to be a phase. It was not meant to be a season that ends when the wedding dress is packed away and the honeymoon is over. That feeling was a reminder from your Creator about the nature of this trust He placed in your hands. Because when you stood before Allah and made that covenant, when you said the words that bound your life to hers, you were not just making a promise to her, you were making a promise to Allah. And the one who controls hearts, the one who gave you that feeling in the first place, He is watching every moment of what you do with it. Now I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. Not with me, but with yourself. When was the last time you looked at your wife the way you looked at her at the beginning? When was the last time you listened to her the way you listened when you were first getting to know her? When every word she said felt important? When you leaned in because you did not want to miss anything? When was the last time you made her feel like she was still the woman you chose? The woman you would choose again? The woman worth the effort? If you are struggling to answer that question, then I need you to understand something. The distance you feel in your marriage right now, the quietness that has settled between you, the sense that something is off even though nothing dramatic has happened, that distance did not come from nowhere. It was built slowly, quietly, through small moments of absence that compounded over time into something that now feels like a wall. And the bricks in that wall were not placed by her. They were placed in silence, in dismissals, in moments when she reached for connection and found nothing. Let me tell you about a woman. Her name does not matter. She could be any woman. She could be the woman in your home right now. She woke up one morning about 3 years into her marriage, and she realized something that broke a quiet piece of her heart. She realized that she could not remember the last time her husband had asked her how she was feeling and actually waited to hear the answer. Not the surface answer, not the fine, I am okay answer, the real answer. She could not remember the last time he sat with her without a phone in his hand. She could not remember the last time he asked her what was on her mind or what she was worried about or what she was dreaming about. And the tragedy was not that he was a bad man. He was not a bad man. He worked hard. He provided. He was present in the house. But he had stopped being present with her. And those are two very different things that most men confuse for the same thing. Being in the house and being present with your wife are not the same thing. Providing financially and providing emotionally are not the same thing. Doing your duty and choosing her are not the same thing. And every wife, every single wife knows the difference. She feels it in her body. She carries it in her chest. She lies awake at night with that knowledge sitting on her like a weight. She cannot name and cannot move. And now I want to take you into the first of the silent things. The ones that no one warns you about. The ones that seem small on their own but become catastrophic when they are woven together over months and years. The first silent thing is this: you stopped listening. I do not mean you stopped hearing. You can hear her. The sound of her voice reaches your ears. The words make some kind of impression. But listening is something entirely different from hearing. Listening means you are present. Listening means you have set aside what is in your mind and you have chosen to enter into her world. Listening means your eyes are on her face. Listening means you are tracking not just the words, but the emotion beneath the words. And somewhere along the way, between the demands of work and the exhaustion of life and the comfort of routine, you stopped doing that. You started hearing her voice as background noise. You started giving her the part of your attention that was left over after the phone and the television and the mental list of things you needed to do tomorrow. and she noticed. She noticed every time. Because a woman always notices when she has stopped being a priority. Think about this. Think about how it feels when you are excited about something. Think about when something happens at work that thrills you or troubles you and you want to tell someone about it. Think about how you feel in that moment of sharing. The expectation of being received, of being heard, of having someone lean in and say, yes, keep going. I am with you. Now imagine that you share that thing with the person closest to you and they look up from their phone for half a second and say, that is interesting, before going back to scrolling. And this happens not once, not twice, but dozens of times over weeks and months, until you slowly stop bringing your excitement, your fears, your joys, your confusions to that person, because you have learned through experience that there is no real reception waiting for you there. You start keeping things to yourself, you start processing alone. You start finding other places to put the things that you once saved for them. That is what happens to your wife when you stop listening. She stops bringing herself to you. And then one day you look around and wonder where she went, and she never went anywhere. You just made it feel like there was nowhere safe to land. This is not a small thing. This is not something to brush aside. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was known for the way he listened to his wives. It was narrated that he would give them his full attention, that he would sit with them, that he would engage with what they shared, that he would not make them feel small or unimportant or like their words were taking up too much space. He understood something that many of us have forgotten, that within the home, kindness is not optional, it is worship. It is an act of obedience to Allah. And listening, truly listening, is one of the most intimate and powerful forms of kindness that exists. She does not need a grand gesture. She needs you to put the phone down and look at her face when she is talking to you. She needs you to ask a follow-up question. She needs to feel that what she just said mattered enough for you to engage with it. That's small, that's simple. And yet, for so many wives, it feels like asking for the world. Now let me take you somewhere deeper, because the second silent thing is one that men almost universally underestimate, and it is this: you stopped appreciating her. Not dramatically, not in a way you could point to and say this is the moment it ended. It happened gradually, the way daylight fades, so slowly that you do not realize it is dark until you reach for the light switch. When she first started cooking for you, you noticed. You said something. When she first kept the house a certain way, you acknowledged it. When she first made an effort, you recognized it. But then it became normal. And when something becomes normal, we stop seeing it, we stop naming it, we stop expressing gratitude for it, and we begin to notice only when it is missing. Imagine working at a job for years where no one ever acknowledges what you do, where your effort is invisible until you make a mistake, where you pour yourself into your work every single day, and the only feedback you ever receive is criticism when something is not right. Imagine how depleting that would feel. Imagine how much it would drain your motivation, your joy, your sense of worth in that place. Now understand that for many wives, that is the emotional experience of their marriage. They give and give and give, and the only time they receive feedback is when something falls short. She wakes up before you sometimes. She manages the children, the schedules, the 1,000 small details that keep a home functioning. She carries emotional labor that is invisible because it is internal. She manages her own feelings while managing everyone else's. She holds the family together at the edges where it would otherwise fray. And she does all of this not for applause, not for public recognition, but for one thing. She does it for the sense that the person she loves sees her, that the man she chose, the man whose name she carries, the man for whom she made sacrifices, sees what she does and finds it worthy of acknowledgement. That acknowledgement does not have to be elaborate. It does not require poetry. It requires sincerity. It requires you to look at her at the end of a day and say something real. This meal is so good. Thank you for taking care of the children today. I see how hard you work and I am grateful. You are enough. You are more than enough. And not once a year on a special occasion, but as a practice, as a daily discipline, as a form of worship. Because the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that the best of you are those who are best to their families. Not best at their careers, not best in their business dealings, best to their families. And within the family, the wife stands at the center. She is not the background character of your story. She is a living, breathing soul who has been entrusted to you by Allah. And how you treat her is a direct reflection of your relationship with Him. Now let me ask you to sit with something uncomfortable. Think about the last time you sincerely thanked your wife. Not as a social nicety, not as a response to something she said, but a genuine, unprompted, from the heart expression of gratitude. Think about when that was. And if you are struggling to remember, then you have found one of the bricks in the wall that has been building between you. Appreciation does not just make a wife feel good. Appreciation keeps love alive. It is oxygen to the fire. Without it, the warmth that once filled your home begins to dim. Slowly at first and then faster and faster, until one day you sit across from each other and feel nothing but the uncomfortable silence of two strangers who once knew each other very well. And now we arrive at the third silent thing, perhaps the one that cuts the deepest, the one that she will almost never describe accurately because she does not have the words for the specific kind of loneliness it creates. You are there. Your body is in the room, but you are not really there. There are no deep conversations anymore. No lying awake at night talking about something that matters. No curiosity about what is happening inside her. No questions that go beyond the surface of daily logistics. No moments where you look at her and choose to go deeper, choose to know her more, choose to explore the landscape of who she is today. Because she is not the same person she was 5 years ago. None of us are. She has grown and shifted and changed, and you have stopped exploring those changes. You have stopped being curious about her. And here is what most men do not understand about emotional absence. It does not feel dramatic to the man experiencing it. It feels like peace. It feels like the comfortable rhythm of a settled life. You come home, you eat, you watch something, you sleep, you do it again. There is no conflict, there is no tension. And so you think things are fine. You think this is what marriage looks like after a few years. You think this is normal. But inside her, emotional absence is one of the most painful experiences in human existence. Because emotional loneliness, the loneliness of being physically close to someone and yet deeply unseen by them, is actually more painful than physical loneliness. When you are physically alone, you know you are alone. You can reach for connection with others. But when you are emotionally alone inside your marriage, inside the one relationship that was supposed to be your safe harbor, that loneliness has nowhere to go. It sits inside you. It becomes a part of you and it changes you. A woman can handle difficulty. She can handle financial stress, and she can handle exhausting seasons, and she can handle the ups and downs of life when she feels that she is not facing them alone. What a woman cannot handle, what slowly destroys her from the inside, is emotional abandonment. The feeling of being in the room with her husband and being completely, utterly alone. Allah says in the Quran that He created spouses so that you may find rest and tranquility in one another, and He placed between you affection and mercy. That is divine architecture. That is not a poetic suggestion. It is a description of what a marriage is supposed to be. A place of rest, a place of safety, a place where two souls can exhale. But rest requires presence. It requires the kind of presence that goes beyond physical proximity and enters the emotional space of truly being with someone. Are you being with her or are you just near her? This question is worth sitting with. it is worth returning to every day. Because the answer to that question determines everything about what your wife is experiencing inside your marriage right now. Let me tell you something about emotional presence. It is not about grand romantic gestures. It is about small, consistent choices to show up. It is about putting the phone face down when she is talking. It is about asking her one question at the end of the day that goes beyond logistics. How was your heart today? What is weighing on you? What made you smile? What is something you have been thinking about that you have not told me? These questions, asked consistently with genuine curiosity and without distraction, are the most powerful tools a husband possesses. They communicate something that no gift, no vacation, no financial provision can communicate. They say, I choose to know you. I am interested in you. You are not invisible to me. You matter. And now stay with me. Because we are moving into something that is going to feel heavy. Something that many men do without realizing the magnitude of its impact. The fourth silent thing is this: you dismissed her pain. She came to you at some point, probably multiple times, in different ways on different days, and she tried to tell you that something was hurting her. Maybe she used direct words. Maybe she used indirect language. Maybe she expressed it through her tone or through the way she became quiet after a particular moment. And you minimized it. You told her she was overreacting. You told her she was being too sensitive. You made her feel like her emotional experience was unreasonable, disproportionate, too much. And so she stopped bringing her pain to you because she learned that bringing it to you only added another layer of pain to the original wound. This is one of the most quietly devastating things a husband can do, because pain needs to be witnessed. That is not weakness, that is human nature. When something hurts us, there is a deep biological and spiritual need to have that pain acknowledged, to have someone receive it, to have someone say, I hear you, I see that this is hard, I am here. When that acknowledgement does not come from the one person it is supposed to come from, the pain does not go away, it goes underground. It goes into the deep places of the heart where unwitnessed pain becomes resentment, becomes distance, becomes the slow withdrawal of emotional availability. And then we wonder why she is not as warm as she used to be. We wonder why she does not reach for us the way she once did. We wonder why the intimacy has shifted. And the answer, the quiet, devastating answer, is that intimacy requires safety. Emotional intimacy requires the belief that you can be vulnerable and not be judged. That you can bring your pain and not be told it is wrong to feel it. And when you have dismissed her pain enough times, she stops believing that you are a safe place. And without safety, intimacy cannot survive. Think about the last time she expressed something that was hurting her. What was your first response? Did you lean toward her? Did you ask her to tell you more? Did you resist the urge to explain or justify or minimize, and instead simply be present with her in what she was feeling? Or did you pull away? Did you tell her she was being dramatic? Did you turn the conversation into a defense of yourself? Did you make her feel like her feelings were an inconvenience? I am not asking these questions to make you feel like a failure. I am asking them because awareness is the first step to change, and you cannot change what you cannot see. So see this clearly. See the impact of dismissed pain. See the way a woman who has had her hurt minimized repeatedly begins to build walls, not because she wants distance, but because she is trying to protect herself from the additional pain of rejection. Every time you dismissed her pain, you closed a door a little further. And enough closed doors eventually become a wall she cannot see over. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told us that the best of you are those who are best to their wives, and he himself was the living demonstration of this. It was narrated that when his wife was upset, he would listen. He would not dismiss. He would not invalidate. He carried himself with the understanding that his wife's emotional experience deserved his attention and his gentleness. That was not weakness in him, that was the highest form of strength. The strength of a man who is secure enough in himself to make room for someone else's pain. Now, let us move into the fifth silent thing. And this one I want you to receive not with defensiveness, but with honest reflection. Because this one is subtle, and it is universal, and it is perhaps the most insidious of all. The fifth silent thing is this. You started taking her for granted. When did you stop making effort? Not the absence of effort you can point to, but the gradual reduction of effort that happens when you start to feel secure. When did you stop planning things for her? When did you stop thinking about what she would enjoy? When did you stop doing the small things that communicated that she was worth the consideration? When did you shift from actively choosing her every day to simply assuming she would always be there? Taking someone for granted is almost always unconscious. It does not feel like a decision. It feels like the natural settling of a relationship that has moved past the initial excitement. But what it actually is, stripped of all the comfortable justifications, is the quiet belief that the work is done, that you do not have to keep earning her love, that she is a constant you no longer need to attend to because she is already yours. And here is the thing about people. They are not constants. They are living, feeling, growing things. They have needs and desires and a deep unspoken hope that the person who chose them will keep choosing them. Not just on the wedding day, not just in the early months of marriage, but in the middle of ordinary Tuesdays, in the moments that are not special, in the everyday, unremarkable fabric of life where most of a marriage actually lives. She needs to feel chosen. She needs to feel that you thought of her. Not with grand gestures, although those matter too, but with small, consistent attentions that say, I still see you, I still consider you. You are still in my mind and in my heart, even when we are apart. Send her a message during the day that has nothing to do with logistics. Bring home something small that you knew she would like. Ask her what she wants to do on a free afternoon, and then actually do that thing. Remember what she said she was worried about last week and ask her how it went. These are not difficult things. They are not expensive things, but they carry enormous weight because they communicate the one thing she needs to know above all else, that she is not invisible to you. The moment a wife begins to feel invisible is the moment the marriage begins its silent erosion. And erosion is terrifying because it does not announce itself. It does not say, attention, I am happening right now, please do something. It just works quietly beneath the surface until one day the ground gives way and everyone stands around wondering what happened when the signs were there all along. I want you to think about how you treat something you value. Think about something in your life that you truly consider precious. How do you handle it with care, with attention, with the awareness that it is not replaceable? Now ask yourself, am I handling my wife with that same awareness? Am I treating this person, this soul that Allah entrusted to me, with the care that reflects my understanding of how irreplaceable she actually is? Because she is irreplaceable. Whatever you think in the comfort of your assumptions, whatever you believe about options or alternatives, or the idea that someone else would appreciate you more, let me tell you something that comes not from me, but from the wisdom of those who have walked to the edge of loss and looked over. The woman who knows you, who has seen you at your worst and stayed, who has built a life with you brick by brick, who has given you children and shared your struggles and prayed for you in the quiet of the night. That woman is irreplaceable. And the tragedy of human nature is that we only tend to understand this when she is no longer there to replace. Do not wait for that moment. Do not wait for the lesson to come at the price of losing her. The lesson is available to you right now, in this message, in this moment. take it. And now I want to move into the sixth silent thing. And this one is about words, or more specifically about the absence of words, about what happens in a marriage when affirmation disappears. The sixth silent thing is this: you stopped reassuring her. At the beginning you said things, you told her how you felt, what she meant to you. What about her made your heart move? Maybe the words came easily then. Maybe they were fueled by the electricity of something new and beautiful. But somewhere along the way, the words stopped coming. You assumed that she knew. You assumed that because you were still there, because you were still providing, because you had not left, she must understand that you still loved her, still valued her, still wanted her. She does not know that from your silence, she cannot read the love that lives in your chest if you never give it a voice. And the silence, the absence of affirmation does not feel neutral to her. It does not feel like nothing. It fills up with doubt. It fills up with questions. Does he still find me beautiful? Does he appreciate what I do? Does he love me the way he used to? Am I enough? These questions, left unanswered by the silence, grow into anxieties that rob her of peace and slowly turn her inward, away from you, into a loneliness that no one can see from the outside. There is something profound in the Islamic tradition about the importance of expressing love. The Prophet, peace be upon him, expressed his love for his wife openly. He spoke of her. He praised her. He did not treat love as something to be implied through action alone. He understood that the human heart needs words, not complicated words, not elaborate declarations. Simple, sincere, from the chest words that land in the heart of the one who receives them and say, you are seen, you are loved, you are enough. Tell her she is beautiful, not just on special occasions, on a random Wednesday when she is standing in the kitchen. Tell her you are grateful for her, not when she does something that prompts it, proactively from nowhere, because it is true. Tell her you love her, not as a response to her saying it first. First, you say it first. Be the initiator of love in your marriage. Be the one who sets the emotional temperature of the home, because the man Allah placed in the position of leadership in the home is not just responsible for the logistics. He is responsible for the emotional health of the people inside it. And emotional health requires nourishment. And nourishment so often is words. Silence is not a neutral state. Silence in marriage is either deeply connected or deeply disconnected. It is either the comfortable silence of two people who feel so safe with each other that words are unnecessary, or it is the painful silence of two people who have stopped speaking the things that matter. And you know which one you are living. She knows too. She has known for a long time. So speak. Open your mouth and say the things that live in your heart. Say them imperfectly. Say them awkwardly if you must. Say them in whatever way comes naturally to you. But say them. Because the words you hold back are the words that could be rebuilding a bridge that has been slowly washing away. Now we are moving into the seventh silent thing. And this one requires a level of honesty that can be uncomfortable. But I need you to hear it because it may be the most important point of this entire message. The seventh silent thing is this: you chose your ego over her heart after conflict. Arguments happen in every marriage. Disagreements are not a sign of a broken marriage. They are a sign of two people with distinct inner lives trying to share one outer life. And that is inevitably going to produce friction. The disagreement itself is not the problem. The problem is what happens in the aftermath. The problem is what you do in the hours and days after a conflict, when the decision you make, consciously or unconsciously, is to choose distance over repair. You know what I am describing: the cold silence that follows a fight, the withdrawal of warmth and engagement, the way you move through the house without really acknowledging her, the way conversation becomes minimal, transactional, stripped of everything that makes it human. You tell yourself this is just how you process. You tell yourself you need space. But in choosing your processing method, you are imposing an emotional experience on her that she did not choose. And that experience is the experience of being punished, of being cut off from the warmth of the person she loves as a consequence of having expressed herself. And this is where great damage accumulates, because every time a conflict ends in silence and coldness rather than repair and reconnection, the emotional foundation of the marriage takes another hit. She files it away, not consciously but in the deep memory of her heart, as evidence that the relationship is not safe, that expressing herself leads to emotional abandonment, that the person who is supposed to be her partner can take away their warmth as a response to disagreement. And over time, this pattern teaches her something that no wife should have to learn, that it is safer to be quiet than to be honest, that it is safer to swallow her feelings than to express them and risk the coldness that follows. And then you wonder why she never opens up anymore. Ego in marriage is the most dangerous thing a man can carry. It is more destructive than financial stress. It is more damaging than external pressure. It is more erosive than any challenge life can throw at you. Because ego insists on being right more than it cares about being connected. Ego insists on winning an argument more than it cares about preserving the safety of the relationship. Ego makes you sit in cold silence when everything in your heart knows that the right thing to do is to reach for her. Allah tells us in the Quran to live with your wives in kindness, not only in the moments of ease, not only when she has done everything right, in kindness, as a way of being, as a continuous choice. And one of the highest expressions of that kindness is the willingness to be the first one to reach across the distance after conflict, to let go of needing to be right, to choose the relationship over the argument, to say, I may not have handled that perfectly, but I do not want distance between us. I love you more than I love being right. That takes strength, real strength, not the strength that dominates and insists and holds ground. The strength of a man who is secure enough in himself to bend without breaking. The strength of a man who understands that the relationship is worth more than any single disagreement. The strength of a man who has learned or who is learning that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in your marriage is to be the first one to soften. Now I want to pause for a moment. I want to take a breath with you, because everything we have spoken about so far, these 7 silent things, they are not pleasant to hear. And I understand if part of you is sitting with discomfort right now. I understand if there is a defensive voice inside you listing all the ways she is not perfect either, all the things she does wrong, all the ways this is a two-way street, and that voice is not entirely wrong. Marriage is always a two-way street. I am not here to absolve her of responsibility or to paint her as a saint and you as a villain. That is not the truth, and it would not serve either of you. But here is what I want you to understand. This message is for you, not because you are the only one who needs to hear something, but because you are the one who found it today. And every one of us is only responsible for our own side of the equation. You cannot control what she does. You cannot change her. You can only change yourself. And the profound, life-altering truth about marriage is this: when one person genuinely, sincerely from the heart changes for the better, it changes the entire ecosystem of the relationship. When you soften, she softens. When you show up, she opens up. When you choose her, she feels chosen. It is not guaranteed to happen overnight. It may not be immediate, but it is the only path forward that Allah has placed in your hands. And that path begins with you. Let me tell you something that I want you to remember long after this message has ended. There is a moment in many marriages, a specific devastating moment, And most men only recognize it in retrospect. It is the moment when she stops complaining. I know that might sound strange. You might think that when she stops complaining, that is a good thing. You might feel relief when the arguments reduce, when the expressing of hurt becomes less frequent, when the house becomes quieter. But I need you to understand the most important thing I am going to say in this entire message. When she stops complaining, she has not found peace. When she stops expressing hurt, she has not healed. When the requests for change become less frequent, she has not stopped needing change. She has stopped believing that change is coming. She has stopped investing in the hope that things could be different. She has reached a threshold inside herself where the pain of continuing to ask has become greater than the pain of simply enduring in silence. And that silence, that terrible silence that can feel like peace to you, is actually the beginning of the end. It is the sound of a woman who has emotionally begun to detach, who has started the long internal process of accepting that she will not receive what she needs from this marriage, who has made a decision somewhere in the quiet of her heart to survive rather than to thrive. And the cruel irony is that this often happens just as the man begins to relax and think things are finally getting better. A woman does not leave a marriage suddenly. She does not wake up one day and decide she is done. What happens is a long, slow, internal departure that begins years before any external decision is made. She leaves in her heart first. She withdraws emotionally first. She stops hoping, stops investing, stops waiting for the man she married to return first. And then one day, when circumstances align, the external reality catches up with the internal reality that has been true for a long time already. I need you to feel the weight of this. I need you to sit with the image of her lying beside you at night, not angry, not crying, not asking anything, just quiet. And I need you to understand that quiet is not peace. That quiet is a woman who has learned that her voice will not be received. That quiet is a woman who has made herself small to survive inside a space that was supposed to be her sanctuary. Do not let that be the story of your marriage. Not today, not ever. Because here is what I know about you. The fact that you are here, the fact that you have stayed with this message this long, the fact that something in these words is landing somewhere in you, finding resonance, touching something real inside your chest, that tells me something important about you. It tells me that you are not a man without a heart. You are a man whose heart may have fallen asleep, and a sleeping heart can be woken. But it requires something. It requires honesty. It requires the willingness to see clearly, even when what you see is uncomfortable. It requires the courage to say, I could do better. I want to do better. She deserves better. And now I want to speak to you about something that we do not discuss enough. Something that lives in the intersection of faith and marriage and the nature of what it means to be a man who carries Allah's trust responsibly. Because this is not just a marriage we are talking about. This is an amana, a sacred trust. When Allah gave you a wife, He gave you a responsibility that is not to be taken lightly. He gave you a soul to steward, a heart to care for, a person whose tears, whose joys, whose spiritual well-being are partially in your hands. The Prophet, peace be upon him, in his farewell sermon, one of the most important moments of guidance ever recorded, said these words about women. He said, take care of women. They are like captives in your hands. You have taken them as a trust from Allah. They were made permissible for you by the word of Allah. This is not a statement of ownership. This is a statement of responsibility. He was saying, handle this trust carefully. Handle this person with the awareness that Allah is watching how you treat her. And you will be questioned. On a day when excuses will carry no weight, on a day when the records are clear and the intentions are known and the private moments of marriage are laid open, you will be asked, Did you treat her with kindness? Did you fulfill her rights? Did you live with her in the manner that Allah commanded, which is the manner of a protector, a comforter, a source of mercy and strength? I am not saying this to fill you with fear. I am saying it because this is the lens through which we must view marriage, not as a contract between two people who serve their own interests and share a roof, but as an act of worship, as a daily practice of fulfilling a trust that Allah has placed in our hands. And viewed through that lens, every dismissal of her feelings is not just a relational misstep, it is a failure of worship. Every moment of emotional absence is not just a marital pattern, it is a neglect of amana. And every day that you choose to show up with presence, with kindness, with attentiveness and love is not just good relationship behavior. It is an act of obedience to the one who controls hearts, the one who placed love between you, the one who is watching every moment of how you honor or dishonor this trust. This understanding changes everything, at least it should. Because when marriage becomes worship, when caring for your wife becomes a form of closeness to Allah, then the motivation to change is no longer just about keeping the peace or avoiding conflict or preserving the status quo. The motivation becomes spiritual. It becomes something that lives in the part of you that is connected to something greater than yourself. And that kind of motivation does not fade when life gets hard. That kind of motivation sustains. Now let me take you somewhere that I want you to enter carefully, because we have been building towards something and this is the moment where we arrive at it. I want to paint you a picture, not a hypothetical. Something that is happening in homes all around the world right now. Something that may be happening in yours. There is a woman. She is going about her day. She is taking care of things, managing the children, handling the responsibilities, doing what she does. From the outside, she looks fine. She looks capable and composed and okay. But if you could see inside her, if you could see the interior of what she is carrying, you would see something that would break your heart. You would see a woman who has been waiting, not actively, not desperately, but in the quiet, resigned way of someone who has been waiting for so long that they have almost forgotten what they were waiting for. She has been waiting for you to notice, to really notice, to notice that she is tired, to notice that the woman she used to be, the one who was full of light and warmth and hope, has been replaced by this quieter, more contained version who smiles at the right moments and keeps the peace, but who has not felt truly alive in her marriage in longer than she cares to admit. And she loves you. That is the thing. She still loves you. The love has not died. Love does not die easily. But love that is not tended, love that is not fed, love that exists in a vacuum of appreciation and presence and connection, love like that transforms. It becomes something quieter, something more resigned, something that does not hurt the way it used to, but does not lift you the way it once did either. Something that keeps you in the house, but not in the relationship. She is waiting for you, not to be perfect, not to suddenly become a different person. She is waiting for a sign, a sincere, genuine, from the heart sign that you see her, that you have not forgotten her, that somewhere inside you, the person she married still knows she is precious. She is waiting for the moment when you turn off the phone without being asked. When you sit beside her and ask how she is really doing, and then actually wait for the answer. When you look at her, really look at her the way you looked at her at the beginning, and she can feel in that look that she still matters to you more than anything else in that room. She is waiting for that moment. And the question I want to leave sitting in your chest right now, the question I want you to carry with you long after this message is over, is this: are you going to make her wait longer? Or are you going to choose today? Because there is something I need to tell you about time. Something that we all understand intellectually but rarely feel in our bones until life makes it unavoidable. Time does not extend itself on our behalf. The days that are passing are not coming back. The version of her that still reaches toward you, even if tentatively, even if cautiously, even if with the careful hands of someone who has been hurt before, that version has a limit. Every heart has a limit, and you do not want to find out where hers is. Do not let the fear of missing out that you may have felt at the beginning of this message become the regret of having missed out at the end of your marriage. The time to act is not when she has gone quiet and cold and unreachable. The time to act is now, when the relationship can still feel the warmth of genuine effort, when the bridge can still be crossed, when the love that is dormant can still be woken if the right person, if you, makes the right moves. So let me tell you what the right moves look like, not in abstract principle but in practical, daily, actionable terms. Because spiritual guidance without practical application is beautiful but incomplete. Start by listening. Tonight, when you are with her, put down whatever is in your hand and look at her face. Ask her something real, not how was your day, which is a checkbox question that invites a checkbox answer. Ask her something that shows you have been thinking about her. Ask her about something she mentioned last week that you know was weighing on her. Ask her what she is looking forward to. Ask her what she has been dreaming about lately. And then do not fill the space with your own thoughts. Listen, let her words land. Respond to them with genuine engagement. Let her feel, perhaps for the first time in a long time, that she has your full and undivided attention. Then do something. Tomorrow, do something small that communicates that you thought of her, that she was in your mind when she was not in the room. Send her a message in the middle of the day that is not about logistics. Bring home something she likes, not as a grand gesture, but as a simple sign that she exists in your consciousness. Tell her something you appreciate about her. Something specific, not generic, not just you are a good wife. But I noticed the way you handled that situation with the children last week and I thought you were incredible. Specific, real, from observation. That kind of appreciation is what separates the words that land from the words that float past. Then be present. In the evenings when the day is winding down, choose presence. Not every evening has to be a deep emotional conversation, but choose at least a few times a week to be genuinely with her, to turn off the part of your brain that is already at work tomorrow, and to just be in the room with her, fully, without an agenda. Watch something she likes, sit on the porch and say nothing for a while, and let that silence be the comfortable kind. Let her feel your presence as something warm and reliable and chosen rather than something incidental. Then speak, say the words, say I love you not as a habit but as a genuine communication. Say I am grateful for you. Say I see you. Say I am sorry for the times I have not been as present as you needed me to be. Say the last one especially, because an apology that is genuine and not defensive and not followed immediately by a but is one of the most powerful things you can offer a wife who has been hurting in silence. It tells her that you have seen it, that you are not asking her to pretend it did not happen, that you are willing to be accountable. And accountability is the foundation on which trust rebuilds itself. And then, perhaps most importantly, choose her every day. Choose her in the moments when nothing is dramatic or special or requiring a decision. Choose to send her the good news before you tell anyone else. Choose to ask for her opinion on things that matter to you. Choose to include her in your inner world, the thoughts and dreams and worries that you carry, so that she knows she is not just a part of your external life, but your internal one too. Because a wife who knows her husband's heart, who has been trusted with his inner world, is a wife who feels irreplaceable. And a wife who feels irreplaceable does not build walls. She opens doors. I want to speak now about something that runs deeper than the practical steps. I want to speak about the spiritual dimension of what is available to you on the other side of this change. Because the journey we are describing, this journey from absence to presence, from neglect to attentiveness, from taking for granted to actively choosing, this journey is not just a marriage journey, it is a spiritual one. Every time you choose to be present with your wife, when you could have been absent, you are choosing to honor an amana from Allah. Every time you speak words of appreciation and affirmation when it would have been easier to say nothing, you are practicing the sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, who was described by his wife as the best of people to his family. Every time you choose to soften after conflict, instead of retreating into ego and distance, you are embodying one of the most difficult and most rewarded of Islamic virtues, humility in the service of love. And here is what Allah does with sincere change. He does not just change external circumstances, He changes hearts. The Quran tells us that He placed between husband and wife affection and mercy. These are not just natural feelings, they are divine gifts. And when we create the conditions for those gifts to flow, when we remove the obstacles of ego and absence and dismissal and create space for presence and kindness and genuine connection, Allah can restore what has been dimmed. He can revive what has grown cold. He can rebuild what has eroded. Not because of anything we manufacture, but because He is the one who controls hearts, and He responds to sincere effort with divine assistance. There is a beautiful concept in our faith, tawbah, return, coming back to what is right after having moved away from it. And this concept applies not just to our relationship with Allah, but to our relationships with the people He has entrusted to us. You can return, not in one dramatic gesture, but in a series of small, consistent choices that say, I am no longer the man who was absent, I am the man who has chosen to come back. And that return, sincere and sustained, has the power to change everything. But I need to be honest with you about something, because this message is about truth, and truth sometimes has edges. The change I am describing is only possible if you start before it is too late. And I cannot tell you when too late is for your specific situation. Only you can feel that. Only you know how long things have been the way they are. Only you know how quiet she has become, and for how long and in what specific ways. Only you know whether the warmth in your home is still flickering or has already gone cold. What I know is this: if there is still warmth, even the smallest, most cautious warmth, it is worth everything to protect it, because you cannot fully appreciate what you have until you imagine your life without it. So do not wait until imagination becomes reality. Do not wait until the space she used to occupy in your home and your life and your daily existence becomes an absence that you feel in every corner, at the table, in the bed, in the quiet of an evening that now has no one to share it with. She is still there. That is the gift that today still holds. She is still there. And if she is still there, then the story is not over. The chapter where you become the husband she needs, the husband you were created to be, the husband whose character reflects the character of the one who set the example for all of us, that chapter has not yet been written, and you hold the pen. Now let me talk to you about something that I want to give you as a gift before we come to the end of this message. I want to give you a way of thinking about your wife that, if you carry it with you, will transform every interaction you have with her for the rest of your marriage. Think of her as a trust, not yours, Allah's. She was in the care of her family, raised and shaped and loved, and then she was placed by Allah into your care, not your possession, your trust, your responsibility. And the way you treat this trust is a direct statement about your relationship with the one who gave it to you. When you treat her with carelessness, you are being careless with something Allah entrusted you with. When you treat her with indifference, you are being indifferent to something that Allah gave you as a gift. And when you treat her with the fullness of care and presence and love that she deserves, you are honoring the trust of your Lord. You are being a faithful steward of what He placed in your hands. This way of thinking removes the conversation from the realm of personal preference and places it in the realm of faith. It is no longer about what you feel like doing on a given day. It is about what your duty as a believer requires of you. And when your treatment of your wife becomes an act of worship, it becomes something that does not depend on whether you had a good day at work, or whether you are in the mood, or whether she has been easy to be with lately. It becomes a constant, a practice, a daily expression of who you are and what you believe and what you understand about your responsibilities before Allah. And let me tell you what that kind of husband creates. Not immediately, not overnight, but over time with consistency and sincerity. He creates a home that feels like mercy. He creates a wife who blossoms in the safety of being truly cared for. He creates children who learn about love and respect and gentleness by watching their father with their mother. He creates a legacy that outlasts him. He creates a marriage that both partners carry with gratitude into old age, looking back not with the residue of regret, but with the warmth of two people who chose each other well and kept choosing each other every day until the end. That is what is available to you. That is on the other side of the change I am describing. Not a perfect marriage, not a life without difficulty, but a real, living, breathing connection with the woman Allah gave you that can sustain both of you through everything life brings. A partnership that reflects the divine design for marriage. A home that both of you feel safe inside. Now let me ask you one final time to do something before we close. Type in the comments right now, I love Allah, if this message has touched something in you, if it has woken something, if it has named something that you knew was true but had never heard spoken aloud before. Type it. Let that be your first act of intention. Let that be the moment you mark in your memory as the day something shifted. Because change does not begin with a grand act. It begins with a decision, a quiet, private, from the heart decision to be different, to do better, to honor the trust that Allah placed in your hands. And if you are sitting with guilt right now, good. Not the destructive guilt that paralyzes you. The productive guilt that moves you. The guilt that says, I have not been showing up the way I should, and that matters, and I am going to change it. That guilt is a gift from Allah. It is a sign of a conscience that is alive. It is a sign that your heart is still awake and that there is still something in you that knows the difference between what is and what should be. Do not suppress that guilt with justifications. Do not drown it in the noise of distraction. Sit with it. Let it tell you something. Let it be the beginning of the conversation you need to have with yourself and eventually with her. Because she needs to hear from you, not the surface version of you. Not the defensive version or the distracted version or the version that says, yes, yes, I know, when really you are not listening. She needs the real version, the one that is willing to be honest, the one that can say, I have not been all that you needed. I am sorry. I am going to change. Not as a promise made lightly, but as a commitment backed by daily effort. Let me tell you what she will do with that. If the love is still there, even buried beneath layers of distance and disappointment and the quiet resignation of a woman who has learned not to hope too loudly, she will respond. Maybe not immediately, maybe not dramatically, but she will feel it. She will notice the difference between words that are just words and words that are backed by consistent action. She will feel the warmth of being truly seen. And that warmth will begin to thaw what has been cold. That safety will begin to open what has been closed. that consistent, faithful daily presence will begin to rebuild what has been eroded. It will take time. Real change always does. And there will be moments when it feels like nothing is shifting. Moments when you make an effort and it does not seem to land. Moments when the patterns of distance feel stubborn and entrenched. In those moments, do not stop. Do not interpret her caution as rejection. She is not rejecting you. She is protecting herself from the pain of hoping again and being disappointed again. She needs to see that the change is real. She needs time to trust that it will last. Give her that time. Give her that patience. Give her the consistency that shows that this is not a phase or a strategy, but a genuine transformation. And lean on Allah through all of it. Make dua. Ask the one who placed love between you to restore it. Ask Him to soften your heart and hers. Ask Him to grant you the wisdom to know what she needs and the strength to provide it. Ask Him to protect your marriage and fill it with the mercy and tranquility that He promised. Because Allah is the changer of hearts. He can do in a moment what years of effort cannot. And when your effort is sincere and your trust in Him is genuine, He becomes a partner in your healing in a way that makes the impossible possible. We are coming to the end of this message now. And I want to leave you with a picture that I want you to carry. Imagine yourself years from now sitting somewhere quiet with your wife. The children are grown, the house is peaceful, life has taken you through its storms and its seasons and its unexpected turns, and you have navigated them together. And in this quiet moment you look at her and she looks at you, and there is something in the way she looks at you that tells you everything. It tells you that she is glad, that she chose right, that the man sitting beside her is the man she was glad to have beside her every step of the way. That the love between you is not the burning electricity of the beginning, but something deeper and warmer and more sustaining. Something built from years of showing up, years of choosing each other, years of being present even when presence was hard. That picture is possible. It is achievable. It is what Allah designed marriage to be. And the path to it begins today. Not next week. Not when things settle down. Not when you have more time or more energy or a better version of circumstances. Today, right now. In the next moment after this message ends and you decide what kind of husband you are going to be, she is still there. That is the gift. She is still there. And that means it is not too late. Do not waste that gift. Do not let today pass into tomorrow, into next week, into next year, with the same patterns still in place and the same distance still growing. Do not become the man who only understood what he had when it was gone. Be the man who understood it while he still had the chance to do something about it. Type in the comments, I love Allah. Let us know where you are in your journey. Let us know what from this message spoke to you. Tell me in the comments what you are going to change today. What is the one thing you are going to do differently? Share your situation. Share your heart. Because there is power in naming it. There is power in saying out loud, I am going to do better. And this community, this gathering of people trying to live in a way that is pleasing to Allah, this community will stand with you in that intention. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share it. Share it without a note, without an explanation, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone is simply place in their hands something that has the potential to wake them up. Share it with the husband who does not know he is losing her. Share it with the man who thinks everything is fine because she has stopped complaining. Share it with the brother who provides everything and yet gives nothing of the most important thing, which is himself. Because the silent things, the things that are never said but always felt, the things that accumulate in the quiet spaces of a marriage and slowly change the woman you love from someone who runs toward you into someone who has learned to protect herself from you. Those silent things do not fix themselves. They only change when someone decides to change them. And that someone is you. The heart you are taking for granted today may be the one you beg for tomorrow. Do not let it come to that. Choose her today. Choose her when it is not dramatic or special. Choose her in the ordinary fabric of life where real love actually lives. Be present, be kind, be curious, be the safe place she was promised when she agreed to build a life with you. Be the man who honors the amana. Be the man whose character reflects his faith. Be the man whose wife looks at him and sees not just a provider but a partner, not just a father but a friend, not just the person she lives with, but the person she is glad to be alive alongside. That is who you are capable of being. I believe that about you. Allah created you with the capacity for this. His mercy is always greater than our shortcomings. His grace covers our failures when we turn back sincerely. And His promise that He placed love and mercy between husband and wife is not conditional on our perfection. It is available to any two people who create the conditions for it. Create those conditions starting now, starting today. The story of your marriage is not finished. And the most beautiful chapters are sometimes the ones that come after the hardest seasons. After the seasons of distance and silence and taking for granted, sometimes comes a season of return, of rediscovery, of two people who have been through something difficult together and have come out the other side with a deeper knowledge of each other and a stronger appreciation for what they have. That season is available to you. Reach for it. Reach for her and ask Allah to guide your hands in the reaching. May Allah grant you and your wife a marriage that is filled with mercy and tranquility. May He soften your heart and make you a source of comfort and safety for the woman He gave you. May He protect your home and fill it with peace. May He forgive us for the moments we fell short and guide us to become better. And may He grant you in this life and the next a love that is worthy of His blessing. I love you all for the sake of Allah, and I pray that this message was worth your time. Stay close to Allah. He is the only constant in a world of change, and everything He has placed in your life, including her, is a reflection of His generosity toward you. Honor it every day. In every small, quiet, ordinary, sacred moment. That is your calling. Answer it.